Hello and welcome to the show. Today we're going to be looking at how to identify and target high value clients. So, this was the narrative that we were on maybe 2 or 3 days ago before I took a detour to start discussing some other stuff. So, let's get back to that and see how we can finish on all this high value talk. So, today, hopefully, if I'm able to be disciplined and go straight to the point, we should be able to talk about the definition of high value clients, the different contextual stuff that we have to consider when it comes to determining who is a high value client. Because, of course, like I hinted at maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, a high value client or a high value opportunity for a wedding photographer is not the same thing as a high value opportunity or high value client for someone who is an architect or an engineer or someone in the oil and gas space. So before we dive straight in, we're going to look at the geek list and we're going to examine what I have today on my playlist. So currently, listening to, okay, well, not currently because I listened to, I think that was last night, Savannah Outen. She's an American-based alternative pop musician. She's kind of hard to pin down because she has different influences, and that's because a whole lot of the stuff that she has done has been covers of work that has been done by much more famous artists, like this lady that did "Eye of the Tiger." What's it called? What's her name? Can't remember, but really popular song. You know, I got the eye of the tiger and something and something and something, and you're gonna hear me roar. So that song. So she's done copies, sorry, not copies, covers of that and lots of other songs. And for those of you who are Nigerian musicians or aspiring musicians, especially for those of you who do the indie folk acoustic thing, I strongly recommend that this is how you should get into the game. Because there are a whole bunch of you who are trying to blow as aspiring indie musicians in Nigeria. But the thing is, you're at the beginning of your career and nobody knows who the hell you are. And until you establish some kind of following, nobody cares what it is that you have to say. So it's unfortunate, but the likes of Savannah Outen, I think, have shown the way. Start, do covers, reinterpret things that other people have done. You gain a following, use that to show how creative you are, and then after a while you can now start dropping your own original stuff, and then labels can start chasing you and things like that. Because if you stay there and you say you want to be true to yourself, you want to do this indie thing, God will make it for you, you will blow, you want to be authentic to yourself, you just stay hungry, or you end up like a whole lot of Nigerian musicians, independent Nigerian musicians who have tried to do their thing, and then after like 5 or 6 years, you see them working in Zenith Bank, and you're like, oh boy, how far now? Like, you don't do music again? And they'll be like, I beg, forget that thing. And then that's how the conversation ends. So please, those of you who are Nigerian indie musicians, this is the way to go. So let's say you are an acoustic kind of fellow, guy or girl, and you want to blow, and you're, plucking the strings and singing away at your heart. Right now, nobody knows who you are. But if you take something that Burna Boy has done, or Davido has done, or any of these boys, and then you reinterpret it, do an acoustic unplugged version, and let's say you're putting out these sorts of things, 2 or 3 every month. It's the beginning of you starting to build a fan base. And this whole thing of authenticity, this is also how you're going to be able to flex your creative muscle. Because, okay, like this Burna Boy song, that one, I need Igbo, Hashayo, that one. So, like, you can take that and remix it. You don't have to use a hip-hop beat or the Tony Braxton beat or whatever. You can take your guitar, do fingerstyle, slamming against the body of the guitar. For those of you who play guitar, you know what I'm talking about. It's fingerstyle and slapping technique. So you can do fingerstyle plus slapping technique, and you can deliver your own rendition. If you don't like the guy's lyrics, then you can make it a medley, and for the lyrics part, use the same tune. But sorry, for the verse part, use the same tune. Introduce your own lyrics. or make it a medley, blend it with another song. The opportunities like that. But I've been talking too long about this sort of thing. So for those of you who are listeners to the show, you're aspiring indie musicians, check out Savannah Alton, listen to her on Spotify, also check out her stuff on YouTube, and let that inspire you to see how you can reinterpret Nigerian popular songs so that you can gain some sort of a following, so you don't end up like one of those people that say, hey, how far now? Like in uni, you used to be very good with music. Like what happened? And then the person says, oh boy, forget that, as in, does music pay the bills, blah, blah, blah. Music can pay the bills. So let's look to our brothers and sisters like Savannah Alton and Boise Avenue and all these other people in the West. They've shown us the way. So let's just adopt and carry go, and we'll be okay. Then also listen to Savage Garden. That's some real good stuff. Again, grown folk music. Okay, maybe not grown folk music, but definitely stuff that we used to listen to when my own set were teenagers. They had songs like Crash and Burn, Truly, Madly, Deeply. Those are songs that we used to try and toast babes with back in the day, with varying degrees of success. And that's the reason why I made yesterday's podcast episode. Stop trying to rely on something else to move your market and to sell you. So that was the whole point of yesterday's podcast episode. You're trying to let the presentation, the PowerPoint, the PDF, the whatever, do the heavy lifting. And some of us, young boys back then, were thinking that if you just play Savage Garden for the babe, you play Crash and Burn, that the babe will just melt into your arms. And, unfortunately, it don't work that way. Sometimes you can play the right song and it's going to help to set the mood. But by and large, you have to sell yourself. So, for those of you who came here, business tips and all whatnot, listen to yesterday's episode. You're going to hear how you're supposed to sell by yourself and not rely on the presentation, the proposal, the PDF, the glossy package, whatever it is that you put forward. For those of you who are here because you'd like to hear about my thoughts about relationships, then Savage Garden, good stuff. But do not rely on Savage Garden to catch the babe for you. Learn how to sell yourself. Learn how to toast yourself. And for girls as well, do not think that because you send the song Truly Mad Deeply to the guy that he will just melt and, you come and toast you or whatever. But I must warn you though, there are some guys who are sappy romantics and who believe everything they hear. So if you send this Truly Madly Deeply, I'm talking to women now, young girls. If you send Truly Madly Deeply to any guy, and he happens to be that sort of guy, you put yourself in trouble because the guy is not going to be able to extricate himself from you. As in, the guy will just gel. And it's going to be either you or nothing. So don't send Truly, Madly, Deeply to any young Nigerian boy, except if you're ready for marriage. That is my warning to you females. Then, let's see, what else? Okay, then I'm currently listening to Sarah Reeves. She's more of a pop, gospel, crossover artist. So, so for those of you who think I only listen to music of the world, fleshly music, I do listen to other things as well. So that's what I've been listening to on Spotify. Some of you may have noticed that everything I've been listening to is SSS. And, yes, that is because I listen to my music alphabetically. So, yeah, maybe I'm a geek after all. So I listen to my music alphabetically. Then on Netflix, still the same movie, Trouble. The Scandinavian movie, I'll be the Swedish movie, I'll be the Danish movie. I'm not even sure where. I should go and check. And please, those of you from that part of the world, don't be annoyed. It's just that, for we local Nigerians who haven't traveled the world, it's hard for some of us to tell you guys apart. So I really can't tell the difference between a Swede and a Danish person. And I'm sure it's the same thing. Like, you guys probably can't tell the difference between a Tiv person and a Hausa person. You think we all sound the same. And, likewise. Anyway, let me run before Spotify cancels my show because of racist comments or something. And let's get straight back to the topic for today. So now we're looking at how to identify and target high value clients. If you've listened to the episodes from 2 or 3 days back, then you should be caught up to speed. But let me just do a small review for those of you who are listening for the first time. So let's try and define what a high value client is. A high value client is someone who brings opportunities for more revenue, for more profitability, or for strategic importance. So let me repeat. When we think high value clients, those are the 3 things that we're considering. This person that I'm chasing, that I'm toasting, that I'm pursuing, that I'm courting, that I'm chasing after, that I'm whatever, If I click this deal, is it going to give me more revenue? Is it going to be a highly profitable one? And then is it going to be something that would lead to opportunities that are of strategic importance? So revenue, that one is easy. The number of zeros, basically. So back to wedding photography examples, 150, well, I don't know about now, prices now, but back when I started out, 150K client, kind of average. So high value would be bigger zeros. So 350K would be relatively high value if you're coming from 150K space. By the time you start hitting 500, 600, 800, I mean, that's definitely high value, at least back in the day. I have no idea what wedding photography costs now. So, so that's the revenue end. How many zeros? Profitability. Profitability is important because it's not just the amount of zeros, but how much money do you keep in your pocket? Because there are some business opportunities that by the time you submit the invoice for 1.5M. But by the time you pay all the vendors, you do transportation, you pay value added tax, you pay this, you pay that, the money that's left at the end of the day, maybe it's 250K. So if you're dropping a 1.5 bill, by the end of the day, the thing that entered into your pocket was 250K, it's up for debate. Can you really say that was a high value opportunity? Because the zeros were plenty, 1.5M. But how much entered your pocket? 250K. So can you say it was really high value? So these are some of the things that we look at. That's revenue and profitability. Then there's the whole thing of strategic importance. And for some of us who come from a artistic background, those of us who are wedding photographers, aspiring musicians. I wasn't an aspiring musician, but I sang for my wife once. Well, then she was just my girlfriend, and she laughed. And anyway, that's a story for another day. But that's how my music career ended, basically. I thought I was going to be able to serenade someone, sing my way into somebody's heart. And I whipped out my guitar, and I sang from the bottom of my heart, and the babe just laughed. But anyway, the story ended well because we're married today, and we have 2 healthy children. So, all glory be to God. Where was I? Strategic importance. So basically, folks like wedding photographers, people who are in the movie space, things like that, aspiring singers, we place a lot of emphasis on these sorts of things, when we're thinking about opportunities and clients that we're courting, because we think that, okay, I'm shooting the wedding for this person and I'm only doing it for 150K, so the money is small. But if I do a good job and this thing is cool, he's going to be able to hook me up with XYZ number of people, and I'm going to get wedding clients that will now start paying me 800K. By the way, wedding photographers listening to this particular episode, let me tell you right now, it is not likely. It is not likely that you do a 150K wedding and that person is going to lead to 800K opportunities. It can happen, but statistically speaking, 150K couples hang out with other 150K couples. So this whole thing of I'll hook you up, I will introduce you, I'll give you opportunity, I'll give you recognition, I'll give you exposure. Like, look, don't buy that whole crap. That doesn't work. If you want to go ahead and take the 150K like you're broke, like I did back then, when I was taking it because, look, I know I'm broke, not because of all the rubbish that the groom was saying. And usually it's grooms who start promising you all these things and we're promising you exposure. I mean, some guys are daft. Like, how daft do you think I am? If you had any level of exposure, you would have exposed yourself and you'd be having a big boy wedding. You come and be pricing me 150K on top wedding photography. Anyway, glory to God. That was a long time ago. We've all moved on. May God bless our marriages. So, artistic people, don't fall for that scam. When people start saying, I'll open doors, I'll make introduction, I'll do this, I'll do that. But that's a topic for another episode. But bottom line, what I'm just trying to say is that, yes, there are opportunities where you might come in today because the profit margin, the revenue, number of zeros is small. Profit margin, the one that will enter your pocket, is small. But if the thing clicks, you will get introduced to other people for higher paying opportunities or for access to technology or for access to new kinds of markets or, whatever it is depending on your context. So when you say high value client, that's just what it means basically. The people that are going to put plenty of zeros in my wallet. The people that are going to give me the value of a deal that has plenty of zeros. Hopefully, the number of zeros by the time I'm done with the costs of fulfilling this thing is going to leave plenty of money in my pocket, and then also open up doors to greater opportunities. So that's what we talk about when we mean high value clients over here on the podcast. So, how to identify and target a high value client? It depends. It is highly contextual. It depends on the product, it depends on the service, it depends on the industry. So for someone who is selling sesame seed, for instance, a high value client or a high value opportunity is worth, XYZ amount. It's not going to be the same if you're a carpenter. It's not going to be the same if you're a brain surgeon. It's not going to be the same if you're a wedding photographer. So it depends. So you have to take the onus, you have to take the burden and do a lot of research on your own end. You have to ask yourself, what makes somebody valuable in your industry? And these are part of the reasons why I say tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and all these AI tools, LLMs, large language models. This is the reason why I say that they're important, because you can sit down and rack your brain, come up with a number of prompts, throw in a few things, and you might be able to get some helpful ideas. Now, I'm not saying that every single time you use these tools, whatever it is that you get is gospel truth or is correct. But I am saying that if you try these tools, like if you put in, like if you say, I'm a carpenter living in Abuja FCT, Opo region, I'm thinking of how to identify high value clients. This is the style of work that I do, and blah, 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 blah. You hit enter. It's possible that it might come up with maybe like 5 responses, and then 3 of them don't make sense. But for the 2 that make sense, if you try it out, what have you got to lose? I mean, you never know. So you have to start thinking about what the key characteristics are for people in your own industry, in your own product or service or whatever that makes them valuable. So for those of us who are in who sell professional services, copywriters, sales consultants, life coaches, let's see, what else? Okay, architects, project management specialists, accountants. So people like us, we start thinking in terms of job titles. So presumably, a clerk might not lead to a high value opportunity, but an MD CEO might. I said presumably, on paper. So we look at job title. Some of us look at company size. You don't want to consult for a one-man shop or one-woman shop because how much will they pay you? But if it's Zenith Bank, I want to go and do training for Zenith Bank because I can go in there and do one session and maybe they pay me 5M or something like that. By the way, I do not know how much Zenith Bank charges for consultancy services, but if it happens to be 5M or above and you want to hook me up so that we can pursue it together, and then at the end of the day we split the profits, maybe like 70-30, I give you 30, 70 for me because I'm the one doing all the hard work, then please reach out to me. My contact details are at the end of every single show, and let's see how we can make that happen. So look at job title, look at company size, and then we also look at pain points, because there are some problems that are just not worth solving. So let's say you are the teacher. Okay, good. Let's say you're one of those people who does lessons for kids after school. If you're offering remedial coaching for people who are trying to skip from one level to another, maybe people who are in primary 6 who want to get into JSS 1, the value there might not be much. But if you're able to pin down those clients who are really nervous about the state of Nigeria and who think Nigeria is going to blazes, like Nigeria is going to crap, and so the solution is for them to send their children abroad, and then you catch them in that moment and you're trying to sell them on coaching services so that the children will smash GMAT or IELTS. I think that is the International English Language Proficiency Test, something. So if you're able to catch those kinds of clientele, then that is obviously a much more high value client or high value opportunity because of the pain points. So my child is in JSS 2 and has repeated once. I want them to move to JSS 3. That might not be, I'm not saying that that's my case. and God forbid that happens. Our children will pass all their exams in Jesus' name. So, where was I? So for somebody who is faced with that kind of problem, that might not be the kind of problem that is worth spending serious money over. You might just go and get a lesson teacher and, I don't know, maybe 2K every lesson or 5K every lesson or something, or 30K a month. But then that whole IELTS 1, GMAT, GRE, GCSE, that whole, my child is in secondary school now, but I want to quickly move them abroad, from this secondary school thing, and then use the schooling opportunity from there to enter JAPA, as in like, let me just export all my children. Then those might be the opportunities where you might be able to get hundreds of thousands of naira for coaching engagements so that those children can pass their exams. So you see that these are the different things that we have to look at when we're talking about high value clients, high value opportunities. So do some research. Are you looking at job titles? Are you looking at company size? Or are you looking at the pain points in the market and what individual actors in the market might be willing to pay for? Because some people might be willing to pay for some opportunities, like I said, I might not be willing to pay for some others. So yeah, so that's it. Then, okay, that's if you're going to go the research route. Now, what I like to recommend to folks when I end up working with you guys is I say that we should use our existing clients to track trends and to track patterns to try and figure out who the high value clients are, because these things do happen. So back in the day, young photographer, I've left Lagos, I'm now in Abuja. I'm trying to be in that 350K market. Once in a while, I'll close my eye, bow my head in shame, and I'll take a 150K job. I pray that nobody sees me shooting that kind of wedding because I needed the money. But while I was in that space, there was one time when I decided to partner up with some agents, and one of them told me, like, look, I have this organ for you to go and see on Minister's Hill. And I'm like, look, is this a serious thing? I don't want to just drive there and waste my time. The guy's like, no, don't worry now. That I've done work with a chairman for a while, so don't worry. I said, okay, no problem. So had a bath, dressed up nice, drove to Minister's Hill. And it turned out to be a good opportunity. I spoke with the guy. I can't remember how much I billed him. It was going to be an architecture shoot. But then the chairman looked me straight in the face. I said, look, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 250,000 now. If I don't like your work, I won't pay you your balance. But if I like your work, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay you 500K. So I said, okay, sir, can I have a moment? He said, sure, no matter. I went outside and I called the agent. And I said, look, this is what Oga said. I don't like this kind of issues. Like between you and me, you've already said you're collecting 20%. I don't like long story. Like, should I weave this thing, or is this guy good for his word? And the agent was like, don't worry, that's our chairman always talks, no problem. So I went inside, and then chairman calls his PA, go into his room, and that was the first time I saw this sort of thing. This guy brought out a block of cash. This was a long time ago. When I say block, I mean block, like it looked like building blocks wrapped in nylon, and then he tore it. And then he peeled a bunch of what do you call this thing? Stacks, and then put it on the table. And then I said, okay, thank you very much, sir. And he said, are you not going to count it? I said, oh no, don't worry, sir, I trust you. Actually, the truth was, I was kind of embarrassed because my math is not very good, so I didn't know how much is inside one bundle. Because there's some people that know that math, like, okay, this is a stack of 500s, so this stack is equal to whatever. This is a stack of 1000s, so this 1000 is equal to whatever. I didn't know how to do the stack math. So I told him, sir, oh no, don't worry, sir, I trust you. I carried it and I put it in my bag. And after I left, I went straight to the bank, gave it to them to deposit. They did the machine counting thing and everything checked out, so that was good. So that was good money. Where was I? Look at me, I got lost in the story. So what I was trying to say is how you can use your trading history. So if I knew what I did, if I knew then what I know now, I would have looked at my trading history, the kind of clients that I have dealt with and things like that, and tried to figure out how did I get access to chairman. It was by this agent. How can I get access to more agents like this guy so I can end up doing more business with chairman, chairman them, and ignore these 150K people? Because trust me, it's an easier life. Shooting a wedding means you're standing on your feet for like 12 hours. So you don't collect good money. You end up quarreling with the babe. It's just a nightmare. But then architecture shoot is sharp, sharp, sharp. You go, you look at the building, you light a couple of places, you take your photo, you underexpose, you call your retoucher, the person retouches, you design the album. As an architecture shoot is sweet. It's you and the building. There's no wahala, no talking back, no nothing. You can shoot that thing in 2-3 hours. Editing will be another 2-3 hours, and that's good work. That's good work. Anyway, so those are high value opportunities. So you see how I say that, it's relative. So so look at your trading history. Look at your CRM. Who are the people that paid you with plenty zeros? Who are the people that paid you with zeros that left enough margin to put in your pocket? Who are the people that paid you with plenty zeros, with plenty margins, and who you enjoyed working with? They didn't give you stress. Things like that. So look at your CRM. Try to figure out your preferences. Look at your purchasing history. Go and look at invoices. Like, this one was a big invoice. Was a big invoice for 2.5. Then maybe you and your wife, you can sit down, look at all the invoices of 2.5 and above, put them to one side. You start looking at them. You now start figuring out a couple of things like, the people that pay 2.5 and above are usually this kind of people who live here and who behave like this, or who belong to this social club, or who belong to this tribe, or whatever. I mentioned that because back when I was a wedding photographer, there are people who had this theory that if you wanted to corner the market in Nigeria, you had to be an exclusively northern wedding photographer, as in cover northern weddings. So that was the whole thing. Like, okay, this is where the wedding is at. This is where the money is at. And you had people talking about creating cabals so that they can commandeer northern weddings. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. So look at your CRM. Look at your invoices. Look at your purchase history. Look at your WhatsApp messages. And from there, you start getting a picture of who might be high value and what the opportunities are. So that if you are at that stage in life, like where I was back then, where you're taking some of these jobs that you're not proud of, you're hiding your face, let nobody see you, you won't put it on your Instagram, you don't let anybody know about it, you just take it for the money. But then you happen to run into a chairman. Ask yourself, you say self, you sit down with a pen and paper, and you say, where can I get more of these opportunities so I can have access to more chairman, or chair lady, or His Excellency, or Her Excellency, or Madam Commissioner, or whatever. Then when you're doing all that research, the metrics, the numbers you should be looking at, customer lifetime value. Customer lifetime value doesn't mean the person will buy from you until they die. But if you did work for chairman and chairman paid you like this, and the relationship between you and chairman lasted 5 years, then, you just take the money, do some multiplication, some rough multiplication, by the way. There are very precise mathematical formula for doing this, but for me, I like doing general math. So by the time you do it, you will see that, okay, every single time I get hooked up to a chairman, I can expect to receive this amount of revenue over the course of 5 years or 6 years. So that's customer lifetime value. For the period that I'm in relationship with this guy or this babe, how much money did they drop? Then there's also average order value. There are some people that don't buy much. Let's say you sell pajamas. They don't buy the expensive ones. But the woman buys from you repeatedly. Maybe she has 5 children and the children are growing up fast. Maybe they're now teenagers. So she doesn't buy much. Maybe she comes and buys pajamas worth 80K. But the thing is, that 80K, she's buying it every 2 months. That kind of thing. So average order value, how much is she spending? But then there might be that person who doesn't buy every month. Maybe the person buys once a year because they only buy Christmas pajamas. But then for that Christmas pajamas that they buy the top of the line one. So maybe they come, she buys one for herself, 100K, buys one for her husband, 60K, buys for the children, maybe like 120K, something like that. So, it's left for you to do the math. Like, who is worth more? The woman who only comes once at the end of the year and buys all those top of the line pajamas, or the one who is buying only for her children, but you know that every other month is 80K. So you do the number and then you compare average order value. how much does this person spend each time they enter my shop or each time they hit me up in the DM. Then there's also customer acquisition cost. How much money did you spend to get this customer? That's something we used to consider a lot back in the day in the wedding photography space, in the event space, because some of us would go for these wedding shows. So you do the math in your head. Okay, wedding show, you're asking for a booth that is in the A section, that is close to the entrance, and because of that, the fee that they're billing you is 250k. So you're doing the math in your head that, okay, if I buy a booth for 250k, might I be able to get some clients? How many clients did I get? Those sorts of things. So you look over your trading history at the end of the year and you see like, okay, I met chairman or chairman's daughter. I did their wedding, but it came from this, it came from Instagram advertisement, or it came from, Bridal Expo. That's Business Expo. So it came from Instagram or it came from Business Expo. And then you run the math. So I spent this amount on Business Expo. This is how much business I got. I spent XYZ amount on Instagram advertisements, and this is the money that I got. So you consider all those sorts of things at the end of the day. So, okay, which one paid more? Now, okay, the Instagram, yes, I was only spending 7k every month on advertising. But at the end of the year, I ended up spending hundreds of whatever, but see how much I got. But for the wedding expo, I only spent 250k to get this spot, and at the end of the year, see how much I got. Okay, wedding expo, the money is bigger, but the returns were also bigger. Let me do wedding expo again next year. So that's how you run the math. So again, you're looking at customer lifetime value. How much money do you get from these people over the course of XYZ number of years? The average order value. Every time they come and see you, how much money do they drop? And then customer acquisition costs. I spent money to get customers. I printed flyers. I did Instagram advertisements. I went for Business Expo. Which one brought the highest amount of money? Those are the sorts of things that you and your business partner, you and your spouse, you and your babe, or you and your boyfriend, if you guys are doing business together. And like I said, I've told you guys before, I do not recommend that you babes listening to this podcast should get into business with your boyfriend. But that's a podcast episode for another day. I do not recommend. But if you are doing that, these are the sorts of things that you should be looking for. Then let's see what else. Okay, then learn to network with high net worth individuals, HNIs, as people call them, or people that match your ICP. Learn how to network with them online, on offline. But I must say, in Nigeria, at least at this time, at the point of this recording in 2024, chairmen, big guys, big boys, they don't do a good job of socializing online. So if you want to network with Dangote, you're better off looking for face-to-face opportunities, because if you connect with Dangote on LinkedIn, you're on your own. I don't think you guys are going to be able to build a profitable relationship. So you're better off trying to look for avenues where Dangote is going to be in the flesh, and put yourself in that opportunity and try and see if you can scheme an introduction that way. But like a friend of mine said, trust not in man, but trust in God. So don't think that your miracle is going to come through knowing Dangote. So continue to hustle, but don't rely so much in the fact that if I get hooked up to Dangote, my life is going to change. So network. Then, partners and channels. The whole idea behind partners and channels is you're in a line of business. You know somebody who's in another line of business. You guys can do marketing together, and that is something that in the event and wedding space we used to do a lot back then. I don't know about now. So you're coming new into the market. You have some skills. You're new in Abuja. You don't know anybody. So you now partner up with an event planner, a wedding planner who seems to have access to high clientele, and that should give you access to high net worth individuals, to high value clients and high value opportunities. So that's the sort, those are the kind of marriages that I'm talking about. So the wedding planner, at least back then, that's the scope we used to use. So the wedding planner has access to you, your wonderful photography, and some free services in covering, decoration photos, things like that. And then hopefully leads to more strategically important opportunities, if I can put it that way. Well, of course, I have opinions on whether this is a good idea or not, but I'm just letting you guys know that it is an option. You're in this business, you're in this industry. Look for someone who is in a similar industry, and both of you have an incentive to go chasing people together. So that can work. So this whole thing of me and that other agent who introduced me to chairman, and I ended up working for chairman on Minister's Hill. Yeah, so it's that sort of thing. So hook up with complementary people. So wedding photographers, they pair up with video people. So maybe you're a fashion designer and yeah, okay, that's a good one. Fashion. Like I know someone in the fashion space who hooks up with movie people, and I've seen some of his stuff on. There was this soap that was big in Abuja, at least back in the day. Okay, not back in the days, a few years ago. Halita. Yeah, Halita. Kind of like a Nigerian Cinderella story. So I saw some of his stuff on Halita, saw some of his stuff in some other place, and I thought it was a real brilliant strategy that the fellow was doing because I actually met him through my video guy at the time, Shagun. So yeah, so that's it. So he partners with movie people, and his stuff gets featured on Nigerian TV soaps, and of course, credits at the end of the scene. Costume designed by so and so. Madam so and so's dress designed by so and so. That gives some exposure, and that leads to high value clients, high value opportunities. So that is the partnership approach or the channel approach. Then, if you do a good job with all these things that I've been saying so far, you sit down with ChatGPT, try and do some research, come up with job title, company size, pain points, things like that. Or you sit down, you and your brother, or you and your wife, or you and your boyfriend. Again, I do not recommend that you should be in business with your boyfriend. I will make a separate episode about that later. So you and your boyfriend, you sit down and you run through invoices, WhatsApp message, everything. Then you now get all kinds of data. All this data that you get is going to be very valuable when you're ready to start running Instagram advertisements, Google advertisements, Facebook advertisements, and blah blah blah. Because then you will have to put in the parameters. Now that's not my thing. I'm not a specialist here, but I know that it's part of doing the targeting. Individuals, age, so and so, occupation, so and so, living within 5 kilometer radius of this part of the city or that part of the city, interested in this, interested in that, hobbies, this. So those are all the things that you'll be putting in there. And the thing is, if you do a good job with doing the research and with going through the your previous trading history, you should know exactly what to put in Instagram, so that by the time you run that Instagram campaign, the kind of people that will reply to you will be, chairman, local government. Okay, no, local government councillor. Are they big boys? I don't know. I don't know if there's money in local government, but big boys, big girls, Madam CEO, who again, chairperson of XYZ committee, Ministry of Finance, Central Bank. So you can now do all that online stuff, online targeting to get those sorts of people. So that basically is how we get, or rather, these are some thoughts about how to go about identifying and targeting high value clients. So remember, at the end of the day, it's not just how many zeros, because it is very painful, because I have been through this. Believe me, I've been through this. You see plenty of zeros and you think, correct, like this is good money. But by the time you settle everybody, the one that enters into your pocket is, you're angry and you're like, I should have just stayed home. There was no need for me going out to only come back and keep this small thing in my pocket. So it's not just how many zeros, but how profitable, how much entered into your pocket. Then also think about strategic importance. Where can I open doors, or who can hook me up with what, so that I can have access to open doors. Then do some research on your own to figure out who you should be running after. Or if you've been in business for a while, 2-3 years, look at your trading history, open your WhatsApp messages, check your invoices, look at your bank statements, look for all that time when you saw big pinging, big money hitting your account, and you say, okay, who was this? Okay, that was this job, that was that job. Oh, who is that person self? You cross-check with the phone number. You remember, like, oh, okay, this Alhaji, this madam, or this young man, or this agent. Then I've already spoken about the metrics and how you're supposed to network. Take all that information that you get, so that when you're ready for online activity, that is what you're going to use to throw in there into your advertising campaigns, so that the algorithm can hook you up. So that, in summary, is just some of my ideas about it. But because I've given ideas about high value clients today, doesn't mean I might not do another podcast episode about that in the future. But don't rest assured, when I do, it'll be me saying something else, taking the conversation further, not repeating the same thing. Oh, by the way, is it taking the conversation further or taking the conversation farther? Further or FAR. It's one of those things that I never quite figured. And I'm glad that my English teacher, I mean, she's too old to be listening to podcasts anyway. So, one of those questions that when my child asks me, I'm like, you know what, go ask your mother. I'm not answering that one. I can answer any other question. But if you start asking me receive, is it RECIV? Is it I before E or E before I? Is it father or further? I'm like, look, go ask your mom. Don't disturb me. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Connect with me on WhatsApp. The phone number 080-6466-2140. Country code is +234 for Nigeria. And then connect with me on LinkedIn. The name to look for is Tavishima Ayede. Check the link where you're listening to this episode. You see my name there. Highlight, copy, paste. You see my handsome face. Send connection request. And in 24 to 48 hours, we should be having a conversation. If you have anything interesting to say, I engage with everyone for now. So take advantage of that and engage with me before me and Dangote start hanging together. Because when me and Dangote start hanging together, you guys won't see me again on this podcast. So, actually, I'm just kidding. I'll probably do this for another 2 or 3 decades before I retire. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.